again with the Farm2Table Direct Show, and we are back here on the Farm2Table Direct Show set at the Ozarks Homesteading Expo 2024 here in Marshfield, Missouri. And this nice person next to my left over here is Accetta-Scott of A Farm Girl in the Making.
Yes.
Her channel and her
website and social media.
And social media and all that stuff there is where you can find her on that. And we'll get back to that in a minute. But Ann, you, how long have you been doing this? Kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your backstory a little bit.
So we've been homesteading for 11 years, but in that process, we've changed from homesteading to now having a small family farm. My husband and I come from no history of homesteading or farming. We're completely 100% self-taught. And in that process of it, it's been one of those things that you learn to manage your property first to feed ourselves, now to feed our community, but to also live a very intentional life based on what we grow and raise on the farm.
Okay. So where are y'all, geographically, where are y'all from?
We're in southern middle Tennessee in Wayne County, and population's like 1,500. So we wanted to be far enough away from people, but yet close enough to the airport in case we needed to get to places and things like that. So we picked a very isolated location that has very little government control.
Hey.
Basically.
Right. Well, you know, that's the getting away from or out of the system a little
Correct.
bit. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what were y'all doing? I mean, what was y'all back before y'all got into this? Because you didn't, like you said, you weren't raised in it.
Right. So Justin has been in construction pretty much since he was 17 years old. So his background comes in construction. And then for me, I was basically a stay-at-home mom. And then towards the latter part of that, the kids grow up. So I was a Christian preschool teacher for many years. Okay. And then from there, I wanted to garden and chickens, and we decided that was going to be the beginning of our journey, and having a few backyard chickens to a small backyard garden to truly now feeding ourselves and our community. We sell our goods off the farm now and things like that. And I basically travel during speaking season, which is from April through November, and I get to teach now, not preschool children in a setting like that,
but adult children.
Yeah, now adults on how to create a truly sustainable life.
Well, that is so awesome to take that transition. I'm sure that construction background helped.
Oh, yeah. Infrastructure is essential on a farm and homestead. So he is key at putting things together and doing that in a very great, timely manner where, you know, it's one of those things where you learn, like, positioning of the sun is key to everything on how you pasture rotate your chickens to how you're going to provide shade for your cattle and whether or not a barn is truly needed and, you know, moving fencing on a regular basis, things like that. True. Very true.
Right. So, and you said your background, you said, was teaching outside of being a mom.
Yes. Yep.
So this kind of just fell into kind of a natural.
It did. Well, it started off with just social media at first, and then it went into a website. And then my book, The Farm Girl's Guide to Preserving the Harvest, is all about food preservation as a whole. And then from there, I just started getting picked up to speak at conferences and things like that.
I'm going to ask you to slow down a second and say the name of that book.
Oh, okay. It's The Farm Girl's Guide to Preserving the Harvest, and you can get it at any online bookstore, Cabela's, Tractor Supply, Amazon even. So just grab it. It's your A to Z to food preservation, and it is going to get you where you need to be to live a more traditional and sustainable life while putting up the garden's harvest and the meat that you raise on your property as well, too.
Okay, well, awesome. So, again, an A to Z guide right there. I mean, everything you need to know about preservation of food. And I think that's something that, you know, people spend all that money, and I know my dad, when he was raising a garden, there was way more than we could ever consume, you know, and gave away and sold some, but there was also the canning and the preserving.
Correct,
and that was what sustained people through winter, and I guess still is for those who do that.
Yep. So we are, on our particular farm, we raise all of our own meat. So we have beef, our pork, our lamb, our meat rabbits, duck, holiday turkeys, and our chicken all come from our farm. So we buy no meat anywhere else. And our garden is 100% sustainable because now we grow in Tennessee. You can have 4 gardens. You have 2 cool weather gardens and 2 summer gardens. And so we put up from there. But we have to buy flour. I have to buy rice. I have to buy sugar or honey or barter for it. So I would say sustainability-wise, we're about 80% at this point. Yeah.
Okay. So say, now I know where we're from, you know, farmers markets and farm stores and and stuff, but where maybe trading or being able to
bartering is essential. Bartering is currency, if you think about it, right? Bartering is currency.
So how much? I mean, you talked about those things you have to have as far as flour. Is any of that able to be done that way, or does that?
No. We work with. I personally buy my stuff from Azure Standards, and they're actually here at the conference right now. So Azure Standards is one of the places that you can get truly what it says, organic labeled items, if that's what you're going to do. So our flour comes from there, and other items that I would not, I would buy instead of going to Walmart and buying it. I would rather buy from a company that pulls it in together and distributes it out. The only thing about Azure Standard and the schedule that I keep is you got to make sure you're there to pick up your items because it's a once a month drop, and then that's it. So if I miss that drop, then I'm pretty much screwed for the whole month after that.
Right. Okay, but I mean, still, that is kind of what I was after, is that it is able to keep it within the community.
Correct.
Versus being dependent solely on a chain of sorts.
So I barter for honey all the time. So if someone needs chicken, then I'll barter chicken for honey. And, because we don't keep bees. And so it's one of those things where you really have to learn that the lifestyle that you live, if, the government should collapse or whatever the case is, and the currency is gone, then how are you going to do anything? If you start bartering now, whether it's a skill for food, you're going to have that skill going forward. And honestly, bartering should be your form of currency going forward anyways.
Right. Absolutely. And that's, one of the things we're all about is shortening the chain of food, but also building that community around you and becoming a known person in that community. So when stuff happens, you know where to go, and they, can trust each other. So, you've been going around, I guess, now for a while to quite a few to these. What have you seen as far as growth within these like expos and things like that? I
think the one thing about it is when these conferences started, the basic flagship, if you want to call it a flagship, Homesteaders of America was the flagship. Right. I've known Cheryl for many years before even conference season, where Cheryl is the founder of the Ozarks Homesteading Expo. Right. And so Cheryl was just coming to HOA to learn at HOA. And so the more conferences that pop up like this and the more regionally based these conferences are, it allows people to truly latch on to their growing area and what they can raise successfully in here. And I think that's key. So like there's a Homesteaders of the Midwest conference, there's one in the Pacific Northwest and things like that. So wherever you are, you should always go there. HOA being the flagship of all conferences, that particular conference caters to a little bit of a different atmosphere than like all these other conferences. It's more like America based, like you get to learn from speakers from all across the country in that sense of, their specialty and what they do. So that is key, right? And I think that with this conference, it brings in all walks of life. Like I did a poll before I spoke. How many people have been doing this for 5 to 10 years? Only 2-3 people raised their hand. Okay, so basically how many have been doing it from 1 to 5 years? And then more raised their hand. How many are just starting? You would not believe, probably like 60% of the audience raised their hand. They are ready to migrate into a more traditional and sustainable life because it's so important to, number one, not only your health, but your mental state of mind, right? And the simple fact that I'll get a little political, your government does not really care for you. Right. And if you don't care for yourself and your family and the community around you, then we collapse as a social country. Right. I won't go anywhere else. We're just going to leave it right there.
Well, it's okay. You're in friendly company. And that's, when we were talking with Joel and we were talking with different ones about the fact that whole thing, this movement, if you will, is they're old enough to remember, and I, as a kid, the land movement, before that, this is different.
Let me give you a little story about this. When HOA first started in 2016, Joel was the speaker. Right. Joel drew in the crowd at Homesteaders of America, right? So I was there that first year. And so Joel was looking around going, he bought all his books, right? Just bought, his books that he was going to sell. Right. He thought he was going to sell a handful of it. Joel's introduction from farming to homesteading was inaugurated in 2016 at the Homesteaders of America conference. He sold all his books, had to drive back to the farm to pick up more books to bring back the next day. He did not understand that this movement was rolling. He thought he was just farming it, and this is the way that it was. And so that's when the Homestead Tsunami book got written, because of the movement and the lifestyle that we're living, and how many more people are seeking this lifestyle that don't understand or know how to get to this point, right? So Joel's introduction to the homesteading world was at Homesteaders of America that first year. And then from there, it just rolled and rolled and rolled. And so this Homestead Tsunami got started on that one.
And I would say it is definitely that. You know, of course, we've talked to others, and there are those of y'all who were pre-2020.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the rest of us that have come along in the after effect. And, you know, I'd asked Joel this question, so I'll ask you the same thing, of the future of homesteading in America and where you see it going.
I'm going to say it like this. There are more people joining this movement because they are tired of, number one, their food options.
Right.
Okay. Number two, they're tired of, number one, the push for medical and pharmaceutical interference versus resorting back to clean food options. Number three, we're tired of being dictated to on silly little things like selling vegetable starts in Tennessee require us to have a $150 permit. Why? They come onto your property, they look at your greenhouse, they assess everything that you have. Why? So, and you know, it's that interference that should not happen. Why should I take my chicken to be parted by a USDA butcher charging me $5 a bird because I want it parted? When it only takes me 3 minutes to part a whole chicken, there's nothing that's going to go wrong from A to Z when they allow me to sell 20,000 chickens a year, but they won't let me part it. Do you see what I'm saying? So the movement has switched from saying, oh, okay, let me follow what the government says to, you know what, that makes zero sense to me. And I'm not putting anybody at harm. So I'm going to bypass the government and I'm going to do what I want to do because it makes sense to the lifestyle that we live.
You know, that was something my brother and I were talking about last night on our way, was just this whole common sense approach to doing everything. And that common sense for a long time has not been common.
Amen.
You know,
absolutely.
And so I think we see this, people are seeking after that thing again. And, you know.
And I think that's what it is. It's like everything has been stripped from us as a person. We're being asked to comply, right? We can go back to we can go back to 20, 21, even 22, right? And say, we're being told to comply. We're being told that this is the way we're going to live and how we're going to live it. We're being told that this is the safest way to live, right? We watched Idaho's water system get shut down. And do you know that most of the hay that's sold in America comes from Idaho and Utah? And yet they regulated for the sake of conserving water and shutting down hay in the prime time of when harvest should be happening, right? So what does that do for farmers and small family farms? We are short in hay.
Right, absolutely. And, you know, of course, down where we live, they raise a lot of hay. That's like, I mean, even people who have stopped raising cattle or stopped doing stuff are still rolling hay. And which I'm a truck driver by trade, and I had hauled hay out of Colorado and out of up north. And like you said, we watched that same thing happen in California. I mean, I know everybody don't. Joel's on the back of the camera back there laughing. You know, we call it California, but I lived out there for a few years, and it still continues the water battle.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
The center of that state is where all their agriculture is raised, but yet they
look at I'm getting heated. You have to stop really getting me heated.
We'll stop. We'll stop. We can
go on and on.
Our trust me, you'd be friendly company with our people. We've got some people that'll eat that up, I promise. But anyway, no, it is so much of that, and I think that's the independence. You know, I mean, none of us can do it by ourselves. We say one of our hashtags is stronger together. It takes.
Oh, I like that hashtag.
You know, it takes all of us to do it. It takes the community. And, you know, that's what we see when we come out here. It's just, you know, when we look out across there and there's a field full of vendors and there's a field full of people that are doing their presentations. And it's like, this is, you know, for us, it's like, okay, we're not alone.
And I think that the point of it is that I think you nailed that on the head. Let's go back to when you said everything was stripped from us. We were told not to think. If you really want to really assess this, the countries that are told not to think are communist countries.
Right.
Is that the direction we want America to roll into at this point in time? Why? Why would we switch and passively hand over someone telling me that I can only garden if, right? HOAs. You can't even have a garden in an HOA.
Right.
So you don't want to know what I teach? Well, let me tell you how you can sneak this into your little landscaping, right? And let's do this at this point. I think that we have allowed ourselves as a society of Americans to be dictated to by not only our government, but like little organizations such as HOAs and things like that. And we allowed our government to teach us. Like I look at where we're at right now in election year. Okay, hot topic, all right?
Okay.
I look at where we're at in election year, and because of the dislike for a political individual, right, we're going to put somebody else in office that is just as dangerous, is more dangerous in the situation, right? I believe in the Second Amendment.
Right.
I do not travel without somebody else. If I don't carry, somebody else is carrying with me. Okay. And now I'm being told, oh, we're going to strip you of that right. Come take it. At this point, right? The reason why I carry is because of a situation that happened at another conference.
Right.
So why would I put myself in danger for something like that?
Absolutely. There it is. That's a hot take right there, folks.
Love me or hate me, it's okay.
But no, it is awesome. This is great. And that's one of the things we enjoy is being able to have just honest opinion and honest, straightforward discourse about that. And, and if people disagree, they'll just disagree.
Yeah.
But really want to thank you for that time. We're gonna. This has been blast. It's been fun. We could probably sit here and do this all day, but for the sake of the conference,
absolutely,
we'll move on. But no, listen. Again, Farm Girl in the Making on YouTube, all the socials, Facebook,
all the socials, website, everything,
and .com and everything.
Yep.
A Farm Girl in the Making, and Accetta-Scott. As you can tell, she's definitely informed. She's definitely got a lot to tell us about things, but also a lot that we can learn as far as farming and homesteading and those types of things.
Let's get to the focus.
There you go. And absolutely, it's been an honor and it's been a privilege. Had a blast doing this.
Thanks for inviting me on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So glad you took time out for us. And folks, you can get this online, but there's nothing like sitting in person and being able to get this at an expo or at a conference where you can actually sit here and have these conversations.
Find your community.
And find your people, find your community, find your tribe.
Yep.
And as we were saying a while ago, we are stronger together. There's more of us than there are of them.
Yes.
I believe
True.
And this is the heartbeat of America right here in the homesteading community and in the farming community.
Yep.
And we do need more small farms.
Yes.
So folks, until we get our next live, and we'll be back in here in just a little bit with some more of that, we're going to sign this off with our usual, what we always do at the end one is we say, prepare for the unexpected and keep it local.
Amen. Yes.
That's what we're going to sign out with on this particular one. So ladies and gentlemen, until the next time here at the Farm to Table Direct Show, prepare for the unexpected. And